So a very warm welcome to all of you, and we thank the weather gods for cooperating with us. So just a very short context before we light the lamp. The Traveling Patterns exhibition is an outcome of a project that was initiated by the Goethe Institut, and it brought together our museum, Dakshinachitra, as well as Tara Books, which is an independent publishing house. It also brought together 4 artists, 2 from India and 2 from Germany, and we're very lucky to have 3 of the artists here today with us. You'll hear more from them during the walkthrough. So the premise of the exhibition was to introduce the artist to the art of Kalamkari and its sort of history of assimilation and openness to motifs, designs, ideas, patterns, requirements of the clientele. And that spirit of assimilation and inquiry and adventurism, the artists, the 4 artists took as a springboard to then develop their own very contemporary visual language. Now, we here have featured only one work of the artist, but the book of by Tara Books will feature a lot more. So this exhibition explains the process, and I will not go more into that as Prathana will take you through. May I request our chief guest to light the lamp, followed by Katharina and the artist. Sorry. Thank you, Ruchi. I'd like to introduce our chief guest. Ms. Sudha Ramen did her engineering and then turned completely away to do the Indian Forest Service. She's a very keen environmentalist and also an animal lover. Today she works as a member secretary of the State Planning Commission, where she's coordinated several public innovation projects through the Tamil Nadu Innovation Initiative. She's worked on public policy documents in sectors like industry, tourism, housing. She's instrumental in setting up a Center for Innovation and Governance, the first such institution for public innovation in India. And as a nodal officer for sustainable development goals of the state, she's organized thematic working group meetings, tracked the status of 17 SDG goals, developed the vision document, and contributed to the outcome monitoring framework and the development of a state indicator framework. There's also another reason why, because I know Sudha from a little while ago, and I also know that she's a very keen painter, and she visits art galleries regularly, and she's been wanting to come to Dakshinachitra for a very long time and do a show of hers here. So this is the first step. Katharina Gogen is the director of Goethe Institut, and she's a film scientist, and she's initiated a lot of disciplinary work, and she's also initiated a lot of collaborations much like ours, but several others as well. Verena is a graphic and typeface designer from Berlin. Aditi is a textile designer. Ruchi is a graphic designer, illustrator from Germany. And Prathana Karthikeyan is the curator of the show and is a visual artist based in Madurai. May I request Ms. Sudha Ramen and Katharina to say a few words.
Thank you, Ms. Sanita. It's a wonderful opportunity, I feel, that to be here today and as a chief guest, because already I have given my request to be an artist who can display my art here, but then this was an hall which came, which I can never say no to it. So, you know, out of all the works I had, I really felt that I should be coming here to be part of this art gallery, to see how this exhibits have come out. And I think already she spoke a lot about my official capacity. I wish that, you know, as an artist, a person who has been like doing it as a passion, started as a passion from the childhood, and you know, I have been fascinated by these patterns. Patterns are something which I always do, and the arts in which I do, I always try to look into the traditional patterns Kalamkari is my favorite one, and when she said that this traveling patterns is more on the Kalamkari, that was something like, I was really, really interested too, because I like a lot of this motifs, okay, like be it the flower or be it a kind of a pattern which has this repetitions and all that. So that's always been fascinating me a lot. The art which I perform right now also, I try to do much of a mixing of this art patterns into it, be it flower or a leaf pattern, or it could be a peacock or a bird or anything it could be. It comes from the inspiration of the patterns that I refer to. So today I think that the artists who are here have really made a lot of research. I am not into a research, I just look into something, so something inspires me, I do it, but then I know people like them have taken up this as their profession, and I think that itself needs a kind of a big applause to you. And to do a research in the art pattern and to come up with something which comes out of their interpretation and their interest, coming out of it, I think that's something really very big. And the display here, especially Ruchi's and Catherine's, sorry, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing the name, Verena's, I think that's something really very nice and interesting. I hope that this inspires lots of the young minds here, and all those who are visiting today. My best wishes to the entire team to make more such successful shows in the future. And all the very best to all of you and to the interns as well. As usual, I think Dakshinachitra has been doing an exemplary role in acting as a good facilitation platform for people like them, people like me maybe, I don't know, and people like the interns who want to pursue their profession in the art and all the research related to the art and all that. So yeah, thank you.
Like Anita ma'am said, Goethe initiated the project, and I don't think that's surprising. I don't think there have been many Europeans who were not completely overwhelmed by the diversity, the sheer number of patterns that surround us in India. Be it in the beautiful Kalamkari saris, be it on a contemporary t-shirt, or be it in the seemingly endless layers of temple ornaments that you see. You know much better than me. Some of them have meanings, some represent gods and goddesses, some give luck, some are just graphics, and it takes forever to find out. Some are recognizable motifs from nature, like my favorite peacock marching on the borders of saris, which every single time I fall in love with. Some of them have nothing to do with it. So I'm sure we could spend the entire afternoon speaking about all your favorite patterns that you can't resist, but that was not the idea. The idea was really to say, can we imagine a contemporary design language starting at Kalamkari and block print? And for that, we invited those 4 wonderful artists. And for those of you who've never done an artist residency, it's a little bit like cooking. You always feel that you have the ingredients under control, and yet you actually have no idea of the outcome. And I mean that in the most positive way. Because if you look at the artwork, all those 4 artists were invited with the same setup. They did the same workshops, they looked at the same things in Chennai, and yet they have chosen completely different aspects and styles. Aditi actually staying the closest to the original Kalamkari idea by giving a contemporary visual for how weaving works. If you look at Henning, he took the traveling part as focus, which is also in the traveling pattern name, and stayed very much in his own style. Ruchi built an entire urban landscape out of individual patterns, which kind of is like a Lego box, and you want to destroy it just to reassemble it later for the fun of it. And Verena actually took Chennai as the major inspiration and developed pattern with which she was able to recreate a Chennai landscape in a contemporary way. So out of the same ingredients for very different artworks. I'm always in awe of what artists actually come up with, and I hope you do too. But it's not just the artists, it's also the partners that make this possible, and not just planning the residency with us, but also making sure that the work is showcased in such a beautiful way here, and Tara Books doing the print version. And there are always those invisible teams behind. Many more people than us have worked on this project, so I really want to thank all the teams behind the 3 partners who are the foundation of every good project, and they are a little bit like a design pattern. You just see one beautiful thing, and you forget that it's lots and lots of small parts that actually bring together this pattern. So I hope that you like the pattern you're seeing here. Enjoy the traveling patterns, and thanks for hosting this.
Thank you, Katrina. So this, just one final note before I give it to Pratana and she can take you around. This is also something for us to sensitize. Design is really a state asset, you know, that's one thing that we've learned from design legacies world over. So we hope that this also begins a kind of conversation with the state to talk about how design can be developed into a kind of asset, both a cultural asset and but lots of other implications as well. So I now hand it over to Pratana. Yeah, they will be speaking during the, yes. So I hand it over to Pratana and she's going to do a short walk around.
So good evening everyone. I'll be doing a very brief walkthrough, and as ma'am told, the artists would be explaining their work as during the course of the walkthrough. First we will move towards the timeline at the center wall and look at a little bit of history. So the textile right at the end is a Kalamkari piece from the Dakshinachitra collection, and it is the kalam was used to draw that particular design. Kalam translates to pen, and that's why hence the name Kalamkari, which means pen work. And Kalamkari had many variations. One such variation was Machilipatnam, also called as Machilipatnam, which had a lot of Muslim influence. And Machilipatnam was blocks were predominantly used in the Machilipatnam style. Again, some of the blocks from the museum's collection is displayed here. You can come and have a closer look. They're very intricately carved designs, all are wood. Another variation came through colonial influence, and that textile is called chins. Chins comes from the word comes from chinned, which means spattered or variegated. And the British, the French, the Dutch were very inspired by Kalamkari, especially because it was cotton. So it was traded to their respective countries and people fell in love with the fabric. So to promote trade, what happened was they adapted designs, and you would see a lot of difference between how traditional Kalamkari is and how chins is. So people loved the textile, and it was so much in demand that the traders in the European countries lost market. So they had to protest, and then the government subsequently had to ban Indian chins. The ban was later lifted, but still it did affect Indian merchants and traders. So to understand how popular chins was, we'll look at this cap here. The image is from Rick's museum, and it is the part of Rick Museum's collection. So this design was painted in India. The instructions were sent from Netherlands, and then the fabric was taken back to Netherlands. It was made into a cap. And in 1925, a gentleman in New York owned the cap. So we're able to see how this cap has traveled. And he wrote a small note to one of his friends The note is here. If you're interested, you can read what he wrote in the letter to his friend. He also drew a very small image of the cap in the letter. So, looking at how Kalamkari has traveled, we can understand that it is the freedom in the process that Kalamkari offers that we are able to develop and create so much. So the assimilatory process and the creation of fresh designs can be said, we may call it traditional Kalamkari today. Based on this, and it was only apt to ask the 4 artists to respond to this art form because it offers so much. So now we will go have a look at Aditi Jain's work.
My work is primarily in weaving, and that is something no matter what I do, that just keeps coming back to me. So again, the entire exhibit is not just about the final work with Tara books or Dakshinachitra. It's just been an overall journey of my work itself. And I consider myself more of a maker, so I like to dabble in anything I find interesting and with no end goal in mind as such. So I just like to make for the sake of making itself. So these are some of the things I've done over the years. And so when the workshop started and with Dakshinachitra, we saw this really beautiful Kalamkari artwork, and that really, something about it just spoke to me. There were so many patterns within this, that I found were quite interesting. That they just took very simple elements, very simple details, and they could create something. So, and I mean, this image is not doing justice to the scale of the actual artwork, that we had. So, I was only trying to combine how, and like Pratna was talking about how, like Kalamkari itself evolved with different people coming in to make the art what it is. Like the Persians came in and made it their own in a way. So I wanted to see how, if we were inspired by the process of weaving itself, what would come out of it. So that's what, the journey I took to create the art that you're seeing there. And those little postcards over there is like my own journey with textiles over the years, the places I've been, the artisans I've visited, and really the wonderful things that they've said to me. So I think my journey with this is ongoing, and I'm really glad for Tara Books, Dakshinachitra, and Goethe Institut to have given me the space to showcase all this. Thank you.
Ruchi's work is informed by coexistence, and looking at greenery in an urban scape gives her a lot of joy. Now we'll see how this joy has transformed into this artwork.
So I've been a wall muralist and an illustrator, and I'm a city person. So a lot of my inspirations around me are mostly from the city and places that I see. And as and when I travel, I like to take pictures of different urban settings and, compare and see how things are changing, whether it's India, outside India, like Kochi, Rajasthan, all sorts of places. And I think when we were introduced to the process of Kalamkari at that time, we visited Kalakshetra, and we also had an entire day where we worked with stamps, and we were block printing. And I think that time I began to look at the blocks, and I realized that there were some blocks that were geometrical, and then there were some that were floral, and then there were some that were waves. And that sort of started developing into a little visual dictionary for me. I thought geometrical blocks could turn into buildings, and floral blocks could turn into plants. So I started shaping up an entire city. So I recreated different elements from the city. And when I'm talking about elements from the city, I also like taking pictures of urban settings, and there are a lot of other photographers and urban photographers who land up documenting it beautifully. And there were two of them who really inspired me. There was Ragini Siriguri, who's based out of Chennai, and there's Mayur Tekchandani, who'd done another book with Tara Books called Still Bombay. And he captured it as still images of the city. And Ragini had captured a lot of images from Chennai. So each time I would look at them, what I landed up doing was I kind of looked at the image and then I would see how I could break it down into patterns. And I had divided all these patterns, they were divided in my head, and then I would go around creating different elements. So I created urban elements like pipes and clothes and cycles and buildings, grills, windows, doors, then, planter pots, trees, gardens, and that's how the city took shape. And I come from Bombay, where the green cover is a lot lesser than Chennai and Bangalore. And I miss seeing that greenery. You do get to see it, but you get to see it in some of those settlements where, you can bring it into your house as a vertical garden or into planter pots that are reappropriated. It could be bottles that turn into planters or buckets that turn into planters, and I like that too. So the whole idea was that the city goes from gray to green. This is one of the images that was from in between the book, where the greenery is slowly taking over. And being from a city, when you experience like a lot of heavy rainfall, it does get a little overwhelming. And as a city person, when I land up visiting places that are like, forests or, like in Sikkim or other parts of India, even too much of greenery does get overwhelming at times, because you'll end up seeing, I've seen like urban structures like that where, you could see like trees and plants growing all over the house. And it's almost like nature was trying to like overtake an urban building. And that got me thinking that, we're migrating and we're moving into cities and we're taking up spaces, and it's become gray. And what happens one day if nature decides to like grow and grow and grow a bit more, and it just starts taking over, our world. And hence my, book covers the journey of how we go from gray to green. And yeah, I've actually represented elements again from the city where I've come from, and from a lot of images that were captured by other artists. I'm inspired, like there are local trains and there are benches, there are gates, trucks, there's a rail yard, there are tall buildings also that make up the city line. And I've tried to create my own little city through that. So, and I think when this project happened, I cannot forget, but I have to thank, this happened, Nina Sabnani recommended my name to Deborah Tyagarajan, who's actually from the Madras Craft Trust, and that's how my name reached Dakshinachitra and Goethe Institut and Tara, and that's how I'm a part of this book. And it's been really incredible because I've always wanted to give voice to these thoughts that I've had, but it's not like I've done anything directly for climate change or something, and I don't, it's not my regular practice, but this whole space and this book and this whole idea gave me a small little canvas to actually bring that idea out, and I've worked on it like a silent book. Yeah, so thank you.
So there are several aspects in my work, because, first of all, I wanted to have this story I'm telling, or just to say, okay, I do have this topic, and the topic is obviously the beach. And thanks to Aditi and Ruchi, because they both took me to 2 beaches. And what you should know is, I don't know if you ever have been to Europe or German beaches. Completely different. You've got the same element, like water and waves, but this is and sand, and this is all that is similar. Everything else is totally different. And so I love to always use the stranger's view, because I think things that for you are totally familiar and normal, to me are completely new. And I would like to just point out new things. So I obviously got obsessed with the goalie bottle. Thanks to Katharina, she introduced me to the goalie bottle. And so this is one thing that I used. I created my own blocks, and this is where we get to the next topic that is involved. I'm a type designer, which means I'm doing typefaces, and typefaces are made of single letters. And when you type a text, you have repeating, but in a new order, arranged glyphs. And this is what I wanted to do with these icon-like little images. So they are all vectorized. And you could actually, since I'm working in the type application, the font editor, I created them like typefaces, and you can actually type them. But to add something new, I just thought, yeah, but with the blocks, you can turn them. You can't mirror them. This is the point. You can't mirror them, but you can turn them. And this is what I did. I turned them. I had this repetitive pattern and things. So, and then I got influenced, of course, by the beautiful exhibition you had in one of these houses, and I saw the wall hangings. And the wall hangings, I really love. There was one wall hanging with an entire ocean, with the creatures of the sea, and I love the sea and fish and everything. So I just thought, ooh, I would like to do something like this. And then getting back to this exhibition there were some Islamic wall hangings. And I think it's very interesting because in the Islamic world, there are no images. So the lettering must replace the image. And this is what I did here. So when I thought the image is nice enough to be used as an image, I tried to simplify and make the image as an icon. But when there is something really abstract, like sand, I mean, how can you, I tried, but you can't, I mean, I wasn't able to have a block with sand. So I wrote the word. So I wrote the words when I thought it's too abstract to actually use an image. So this was my little reference to the Islamic idea of using letterings. So, and then there is on this wall, above Mini, there is this fishnet. And I spent several weeks at Pondicherry Beach, thanks to Gita Wolf von Tara Books. So I was cycling around. I spent a lot of mornings at the beach, and I took this piece of fishnet, and this is still sitting at my desk in Berlin. So I always had my fishnet there, and I'm super happy to be back. Thank you.
So Henning is from Germany. He is a designer, illustrator, and he also pursues his passion in film and animation. So based on a few questions that we had asked during the process of setting up this space, I will shed a light on Henning's process. So Henning, like you can see from the quote, is very inspired by faces, smell, places. So when he came to India, he felt that India provided a visual rush. So he started sketching whatever he saw in the streets of Chennai, and he created patterns out of them. But eventually he felt that patterns are not enough for a self-standing book. So he then created images and also complemented them with texts. So when you look at the text, they might bring a smile to your face, but on deeper analysis, you will find that it has more meaning, it has a lot of irony. After looking at Kalamkari textile, Henning also tried to overlap designs in whatever you see here, yeah. So that is based on Henning's responses. I just shared a very, I'm just giving you a few information on his process. Yeah. We also have some interactive activities here. You can try your hand at block printing. There's also takeaway, postcards for takeaway. And so as Katrina had mentioned, I think we got an idea of how contemporary artistic practices have been created from traditional elements. So that's it. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Prarthana. So you've done a splendid job. Thank you for all your investment. And thanks to all of you. Thanks to Katrina and the team at Goethe. Thanks to the artists. And thank you to the fabulous team at Dakshinachitra as well, which is, I think, everybody has worked a lot. We've not really put up something like this earlier. So from all those who brought the beach sand to Mani, who was like, on multiple ladders, he was standing to put on the light and everything. So thank you all for coming. The exhibition is all on till January 21st. We will be doing a design roundtable because I want to take this idea of design a little further. Thank you all, enjoy, and hope we have a nice weekend. Yeah, she said, yeah. Yeah, so that, as Prathana said, that's the interactive place. One is the cloth book and the other is the postcards.